Who the heck is that?
I try to log in. I can't even log in. I'm getting there.
Who the heck is that? I don't even know who that is.
Been a long time.
Tim, Bay Liquor, Lion, what's going on? Hello.
Don't say anything to me in chat because I can't see it yet. Working on it.
She's trying to log in. She's forgotten how to do all this stuff. DK Moore, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. T. Schmidt says, Jen.
Logged in.
Ooh, I got good stream hair today if I just leave it like this. Look at that. That's like some crazy toupee blowing in the wind stuff right there. Look at that.
Oh, you got some height.
That's pretty good.
Some good volume. It's so much better in person. Like you don't even get the full extent.
That's pretty good.
That actually translates pretty well. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
See, they're missing this right
thing
here. Yeah. Good.
I'm just gonna stream this way.
I think you should. My microphone on? Can everyone hear me?
Well, you talk so quiet that they probably can't hear, but your microphone is on.
Okay. Just making sure.
Talk like you're filming the commercial.
I had a special mic on, so I didn't have to talk loudly at all for that.
See, Armin says, okay, so I'm getting muscled off the computer because Kiddo is most definitely Team Jen. They go, wait, Jen's on!
Very tiny.
CK Moore says, I'm just getting back into the hobby after years away. Just learned about the company recently. What's the top things you should know about our paints? I'm debating going all in. Also, pretty cool. You guys are in Arizona, too. Yeah, we're right here in Phoenix. Central Phoenix, just south of Indian School on 3rd Street. You can do local pickup if you're in Phoenix.
Look what I'm going to paint. There it is.
You can zoom your zoom out.
Okay.
Yes.
The
way that it goes. One way it'll turn and the other way it won't.
There we go. That.
Mo was just saying he was dying.
Miniatures
like Mo was just saying he was dying to paint the Road Girl academic bust as a paint along. And so now there you go.
Paint along with me, Mo.
She comes in and she goes, I'll stream. I really want to paint that bust. And I'm like, which one? And she goes, the Road Girl one. And I go, fan-freaking-tastic.
So here I am.
Go for it. But CK, what's the thing that sets our paints apart? Chat will chime in here too. Literally, as a painter for over 40 years, I decided that I wanted to make a paint that was the last paint I would ever need. So I paint every way imaginable. We use brush, we use airbrush. You know, we do all types of blending, dry brushing, you name it. It's probably not plugged in. So you can imagine that every kind of painting you would ever want to do, I wanted a paint that said yes. And so that's what we made. It's ultra matte finish, you know. All the models that we paint with it, from, you know, easy, quick game play models like my Battletech battalion we just did with washes. This is our flesh wash over the top of a bunch of greens, believe it or not, that gives us kind of a tan color, but there's absolutely no browns on this model, which is cool. But yeah, so there's a tremendous amount of flexibility to all of our paints. They can grow with you, so no matter how new or old you are in the hobby, they'll be able to do what you want them to do. So as a starting painter, they're fantastic because their coverage is really great. They don't have a lot of thick texture to it, so they will coat evenly. Lots of vibrant pigment, so you get bright colors when you need bright colors. And then, what's the matter? No, it needs to plug into the floor outlet right there by your right. And so they work great, right? And then as you get more proficient, get more confidence, try more techniques, they go right along with you. You never have to worry about changing into other styles of paint. They're called Pro Acryl, but there's no reason you can't be a day one painter and enjoy them and have fantastic results. And listen to Dragonfire. Dragonfire said it better than I did. He just said, they're just the best paints ever. When is Baby J's funeral? He's got to be dead because nobody is sick that long. He's been sick for 5 days. I told him today he needs to go to the doctor. He tried to come in
yesterday, and he made it maybe 30 minutes.
Maybe 30 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, we determined that we sacrificed him. Well, it wasn't technically that we sacrificed him.
Sacrificed.
I just yeah, right. He sacrificed him. What happened? The real story here is that I was wondering what I was going to eat, and I was having a real struggle with it. And poof, the Chaos Gods showed up just out of nowhere, and they said, "You would like a cheesesteak?" And poof, they handed me a cheesesteak, and I said, "That solves all my problems. What do I owe you, fine sirs?" And they just said, "You just have to sign right here." And I was so happy about my cheesesteak, didn't even care, signed right on the dotted line.
You didn't read.
They all then went, as Chaos Gods do. And I read the contract as they were fading off into the mist, and it said that Baby J, they get his soul.
The sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. So I'm very sorry that I signed away Baby J's life without even knowing what I was doing, but I got a cheesesteak out of it, so life's good.
Armin said, my daughter wants to know if I would paint something 3D printed. For honor bust from Space Sculpts, she's fully enamored with it, but is afraid that her skills aren't up to painting. I've seen her painting, so I don't think that there is any issue with her painting.
She can do it.
And I mean, I would definitely paint something, but
you have to understand this is her first time painting in like this year.
This year,
yeah.
I have not been in here on a stream.
And in 2022, I would doubt if you painted more than a half a dozen times.
No, not even. Yeah.
Baby J was a heretic. This end was inevitable. We hope he gets better. The reality is that he's home like everybody else that decided to be sick today in the world of nerds, because guess what happened today?
Don't even tell me. Don't even tell me. I don't want to know. Don't want to know. I choose to believe that people are actually sick. That is the only way. The only way I'm going to be able to function.
Dower says, yeah, I haven't bought it yet. Have to finish work first. Bill's playing it on the couch for lunch right now.
Oh.
The new Zelda game. No, there's probably a brand. Black you want, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, please don't. There's black sheets over here. Probably a small one. Baby J, I'm sorry you were out. Jen just airbrushed over all your models.
What you get? No, I would not. I would not.
I love that you just go, that's what you get. The rough crowd around here. The boss is heckling you.
That's what you get when you don't come.
There's no guarantee of safety here at Monument Hobbies. None. Not how it works.
Which airbrush?
Huh?
Which airbrush?
The top trigger is for priming, yeah. We just leave the stock off so it's easier.
You guys.
I mean, we have no adult supervision, so we can't really be held responsible. You left us alone. Just decided that was okay. And you own the joint. Something told you that it was okay to leave us children unsupervised.
Well, gosh, now you're making me question my decision to leave the children out there unsupervised.
Oh, that's even worse. Wait, there's no supervision and fulfillment? Production never has any supervision, and somehow we get things done. So that I'm not as worried about.
Woman got a lot done already today.
What's that?
They've already gotten a lot done today. They got all the web orders and no.
Yeah, it looked like stores are making really good progress too.
Yeah, they're doing.
Those guys have been.
They're doing fine without.
Guys have been killing it. Killing it. Best team ever. Welcome to Friday, everybody. Hope your week is on a upswing towards the end.
Probably going to be off camera like 95% of the time. I'm going to do my best.
Just got to yell at her.
It's been a while since I've done this, but I do remember that I need to make a light coat of primer.
He wants a return of Team Jen. Jen's going to be on the stream more, but not as a painter necessarily. She'll be doing a lot of the production work behind the scenes. She will have a cam on stream, so you'll be able to see her and talk to her, and she'll be taking part in the conversation a lot more. She already does that from her office, but in typing only, really. Yeah. And so our goal is we're working on setting up a production desk over in the opposite corner of the room here.
They're going to put me in the corner.
We're going to stick Jen in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
But they do put Jen in the corner.
We do put Jen in the corner.
I need to go get glasses.
Seeing is good. No. I'm good. Jen gets to paint by herself? What? She doesn't understand what she's asking for. Like, you don't want Jen in this room by yourself. It's not going to end well. It's going to be all talks about unicorns and fairies. Bad jokes and the worst soundtrack you've ever seen in your life. So no, not happening. I get to override certain bad decisions. That's one of them. You know, for years I've tried. I can't tell Jen to do anything, but I have tried to convince her to do a stream by herself whenever I'm not here, right? If I'm gone for work or whatever reason. Is that having Jen be able to stream would be fantastic. It's something I would love to have happen. Jen currently does not trust herself with all of the technology. One of the big things that will happen, hopefully, from bringing her in the production capacity so that she can be the one running all of the electronics during the stream and all of that, is that we should be able to get her confidence up to the point where maybe she would be okay with streaming. But don't tell her that, because she'll never agree to it. Hi, Jen.
Tommy?
Hi, honey. How are you? You quite good over there?
Oh, we haven't changed the packing slips to update the stream
You
on
haven't?
Hobbies and stuff.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. It says 404 unless you have a time machine.
It really, yeah, it does.
Who noticed that?
PK Climber.
BK, thank you. We will get that changed. It's the hardest thing when you talk about all your links in so many places and then you change something, you're screwed. Armin, nothing good ever came of sitting around talking about unicorns and fairies.
That's false.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah, for my Lisa Frank stuff by talking about unicorns. That's a pretty good idea.
I'll let her trap you into this way of thinking, chat. She's Sly Fox over here.
She's not. I'm just moving it around and it's coming up from the sticky stuff.
Oh,
But
press down on her.
wet though.
So welcome everybody. If you are new here, my name is Jason. That over there is Jen.
Hi.
It's a very
Been
rare.
a long time.
It's a very rare Jen sighting. Came in today and she was like, you want me to paint with you? I was like, do you want to paint?
Hey,
And here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Painting together like the old days.
Like the old days. Then we can talk about unicorns and 40K lore. Is it Chapicracy? Chapicracy? The CZ always gets me because it can be an SH.
Oh.
Thank you for the follow. As we butcher your name.
Don't take it personally, please. We're nice people.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Stonewall, what's going on? CK Moore, thank you so much. And welcome again, everybody.
That's pretty good.
A rare Jen painting day. For those of you that may not remember, Jen is the owner of Monument Hobbies. And she loves to paint and is a very good painter. Although she may have forgotten how to paint because she hasn't been able to paint very much in the last year. Although you did try the Archer model you're painting.
That was last year.
Yeah, no, I know, but
Yeah.
I think that's the last thing you really
That was the last thing, yeah, and I didn't finish it.
you really worked on, huh?
Yep.
Still working on setting up all of our shine on this armor before we do the final jaunt into the bronze. You can see what the bronze is going to end up like in the waist. That's where we did the testing, and now I'm just going through and doing all the rest of it in one go because I'm very happy with the coloring. Right now we're painting with a mix of yellow, green, and khaki that I pre-mixed up into a bottle yesterday on stream, knowing that I was going to have to use an absolute crap ton of it. Wolf, what's going on?
All right, I think this is good. Do you want to check it before I turn everything off?
Oh, because you're not going to use it for base
I'm
coating or
not
anything,
using
right?
it anymore after that.
Good to me. Our primer cleans up so easy.
It really does.
Makes things a lot simpler.
You need, are you gonna airbrush or anything?
Nope, I'm not airbrushing at all. All brusha brusha.
To dry for a few minutes. What have you guys been up to? Wow.
This is very momentous. Like, I'm getting nostalgic and teary up over here. I'm like, wow, this is like a throwback stream.
It is.
We need to just plan these
Flashback
every now and
Friday.
then where you get to just come on and paint.
I know, we've talked about it. It hasn't been an opportunity, but now that
It's so funny because you would think, like, you know, Jen and I are also partners in normal life outside of these four walls. You would think we would have these plans figured out better. But when we go home, we tend to just sit around and pet the dog. We don't really think about all this stuff.
work talk at home.
Try not to.
Which is good.
Sometimes we're bad at it.
Yeah, sometimes you have to. Wolf Concept ordered all the paint line with a few extras.
Wolf was really silly today. He sends me a note in Discord. Says, I'm about to order all the things. And I was like, freaking fantastic. And then he goes, I forgot a shirt. He was like, I got everything. And then he's like, oh, I forgot a shirt.
Add a shirt. Add a shirt to. We can edit.
It's on my list of to-dos to make more shirt designs. I want a little nerd shoot patch. Like we have the small hobby nerd patch.
Oh. PG.
I'm being PG. I'm being family friendly.
Fam. Jordan uses a wet palette. I do not.
Oh, that's right. The whole
There's
thing is not
some
quite
paper
set.
there.
Yeah, there's the glass palette is over there. Oh, you
Paper's
found,
here.
oh, you got paper. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything was out. Check that.
What's that?
Wolf Concept said everything was out. Mainly, I were in Excel. There were like 2 designs that had them.
We only have 3 designs, right?
M and
I think the
Hobby
old, I
Nerd.
think the old Big Hobby Nerd is still on there, which we don't do
Oh
anymore.
yeah, we the ones we make are just little, like
Yeah, the large Hobby Nerd shirt we don't currently do. All we have in stock are the end of the line on that batch. We press our own shirts now, and so we have the small Hobby Nerd breast patch logo, the nerd, or no, the Monument M, and then the same two for the work shirts. Yeah, if there's something that you want in a XL size in those, we just probably need to add it back into stock because we have all that. You want some Monument Eclectic Salmon underwear? I mean, don't get me started. Our textile supplier here in the States can do like underwear. We can print some underwear. I thought about doing Hobby Nerd crotched underwear as a gag. Hats are out. Yeah, hats are my fault because we were going to move to printed hats. We have a bunch of the hats, the raw hats we have, but I thought that the logos, the M and the Hobby Nerd that we had, I thought they were the right size for the hat, and they're not. So that's why I say it's on my list of to-dos to get all the new designs worked out because I have to shrink those down and such before we can do it. You made a mistake of using another brand's dark orange. Why would you do such a thing?
food.
I don't understand. Gosu cracked the seal on some white blue. It's such a good color. Such a good color. Any hits on Win and F, the brushes and glaze medium will be restocked. Glaze medium should be like next week, I'm hoping.
Late though, I think.
What's that?
I think they said late next.
Late next week?
I think Phil was saying Thursday.
Oh, okay. So maybe the following week. We're waiting on one of the components, one of the raw materials for it. So unfortunately, ran out. And then brushes, we don't know.
No.
It's that perpetual 2 weeks. And then ask us in 2 weeks and we'll tell you 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we're in that position. We've had so many delays at our German factory with this production run that it's just starting to become an issue where we can't tell you. They are coming.
Yeah, they're not discontinued or anything like that.
Don't worry about that. And we are actually in the middle of bringing production stateside as well, which is going to be a big thing. But even that is being caught up in delays from Germany. All of Europe has got extreme delays in manufacturing stuff right now. They are experiencing a bunch of problems in their general economy that are filtering down into our hobby as well. We're doing our best. Plan to alleviate some of that in the future.
Yeah, that's the thing about the brushes is that when we do get them back in stock, they are going to disappear immediately. So, sign up for the restock alert, and when you get that notification, buy them immediately. That's what I've been telling people. We'll announce it in Discord, so if you're not in our Discord, make sure you join that.
Yeah, Discord and here on Twitch get the first updates.
Yeah.
So make sure you join the Discord, !Discord in chat. Hard when you only do it with one hand. Tim beat
but
you
someone
to
else. Someone beat me to it.
it. Tim beat you to it.
Yeah, don't wait for brushes to put in an order. Unless you don't mind waiting. This underneath part.
What do you mean?
Like
Show me on the screen.
stuff underneath here.
I usually paint it black.
Okay.
On bust, I usually just paint it black.
Okay.
If you go to like museums and stuff and you look at busts like that, if they're bronzes, they're all bronze. But if there's something else, they're generally black where there's nothing that's realistic.
Okay.
Where they've been chopped off.
Yeah.
Arms that don't exist, things like that. You want to do a comparison with snow effects? Ours works great for all sorts of stuff. It's not just snow. Because it's the finest texture we sell. That ultra fine texture works great for all sorts of stuff. Also great for mud, wet ground.
Could be a nice little lesson in anatomy and muscle and bone.
What's that, the underneath part?
Yeah, most of you mean I'm not supposed to do a human body cross.
I will enjoy watching you freehand all that. Stonewall, any recommendation for getting something that could pass for white blue? Sky blue and white will get you there. You just add a little bit of sky blue to white. It won't be exactly the same, but it'll be close. If what you want is just a really cool white, I'll get you there. Never forget that white is your tint base. It is the thing. As a matter of fact, let's just talk about paint for a second. If you go to, say, Home Depot to get a paint color made, most of those start with buckets of white. And then they put the color into it. Some of them might be a gray for like an ultra dark, but generally they start with what's called a tint base, and it's white. It's just whatever kind of white you want, eggshell,
Hey,
Whatever.
somebody likes us.
Fluid Art, what is going on? Welcome, Raiders. Hello, hello. Nothing on the top over here. Huh? We have a bunch over here.
I looked at all this.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Didn't you get him a full set? It exists someplace.
Yeah. I'm just not seeing it.
Fluid Art, the Death Knight is an amazing model. Having a lot of fun. Getting ahead of myself doing all the metal right now. I worked out what color of kind of bronzy armor I wanted on his waist, and now I'm just carrying that on to all of the rest of the suit. Got enough done of the waist leather here, the tunic, or whatever you want to call that, and the skirt that I don't have to do my base coats underneath the armor, but armor's going to be the biggest portion of this thing, so I always like to get a good visual understanding on the model of what I'm working towards. So here we are. Welcome, everybody. If you're new here, I'm Jason, that's Jen.
Hi.
Jen is a very rare appearance on the
Not
stream.
normally here.
Usually in the background, doing all the work. Commanding the troops, leading the forces, storming the castle. As it were. You're in for a treat. Jen's first real day of painting in quite a while.
A very, very long time.
She is a fantastic painter.
Learned from the best.
She is going to be doing the Journeyman Road Girl bust over there. The academic version, which is a great model to have in your repertoire to do practicing on. It has tons of good textures and materials on it that
Model is available at hobbies.com.
No.
In the miniatures tab. Lots of other cool journeyman miniatures.
the Death Knight I'm painting.
Like the Death Knight.
What a sales segue.
And the Morrigan that Jordan painted.
Holy cow, he did. Knocked the Morgan out of the park. Beautiful model.
Looks so good.
You wish he had the eye patch that the other version had? It's the academic bust. It's not the character bust necessarily. Whenever you see that term academic, it's really meant for classes.
Oh, really? Like, because it's just got good.
It's got really good material qualities and components to it. It gives a teacher the way to teach just about everything on one model. In metal,
Sense.
good shading because it has good overlap on stuff, hair, you name it. A really good model. But
Plus it
yeah,
looks
academic models won't always have, if they're based on other models, they won't always have the same detailing. That's on purpose.
It didn't.
Stonewall, you work the paint desk at Lowe's, and that never hit you? Yeah, most of the tint, it's called tint base, and it's usually a white or an off-white, and then you add color to it, and based on the actual value of that paint will determine like how much of the color mix goes in and things like that. So pretty basic kind of primary color mixing that goes into those. They do everything CMYK type mixing. in most cases. They probably have a little bit of other color in there too, but a bunch of those machines, those big filling machines, unfortunately, that's what a lot of paint companies in our industry do. That's why you get muddy colors when you blend, because when you're painting on the wall of your house, you're not as concerned about mixing colors, right? It's not what you're doing. So you can afford to have, 6 pigments in your paint. With as much blending and mixing as we do in painting in artist terms, like when you're on a canvas or a model, you don't want that. So you can't just take one of those big paint mixing machines that spits out cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and white, even though mathematically you can make any color in the world that way. That's not the way you want to do it. But it's the easy way. And a lot of these companies that make paint for everybody are actually house paint manufacturers. As their main business model. Kind of the way they do it. But the idea there was that, remember, you can always go to white and, get a much lighter tint of your color. It's just that white tends to desaturate very heavily, very quickly. Meaning that your color is going to turn into that kind of, what's the word? It's escaping me right now. Like a powder blue, right? Very desaturated powder blue. You're going to get those colors, I think of like bubblegum pink.
Like pastels?
Pastel, yeah. It's going to be a very pastel-y kind of color. Very quickly when you use white. So that's why you'll see me tint with things like pale yellow a lot. You're trying to create white blue, so white works for that because you're trying to create a tint that is cooler. But if you were just trying to, like if I were trying to get a lighter version of this color that I'm painting right now, I would not put white in it. I would probably put like pale yellow or more khaki, something like this to brighten it up. Now I don't have a lot of range here, right? Because we're almost as bright as the khaki is. So from this, I go straight to khaki. But if I wanted to brighten this up, using pale yellow would be my step. Right? Because the yellow content here will keep the green live in this, whereas a white will start sinking this faded green away very quickly. So just be aware that while white is the easy tint adder, it's not always the right one to use because it does desaturate your coloring very quickly. White I tend to use towards the end of a model because I paint from dark to bright. And by using it at the very end, I don't care if I start to desaturate things at that point. That's what I'm trying to do. Get that real final hit of brightness going. For some reason that word pastel always escapes me. Every time I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it's called like, and bubblegum pink is the first thing that comes to my mind all the time. Not what I want to say. Probably because I'm always trying to avoid that happening to my colors.
What is this hat that she's wearing?
It's like a leather pilot's cap.
Okay.
Like an old World War II airplane pilot.
Yeah, that's kind of. it would be like brown or black.
You can do
Black,
like,
right?
you know, like I'm doing in reds and browns and stuff. You can do whatever color you want. You just have to do it as leather. Get your head right in front of you.
Sorry, yeah. I want to make her hair red. I don't think.
Yeah, so maybe
brown.
if you do, is it going to be a dark red?
Yeah, like an auburn.
So then you could do a real textured brown leather, like a really worn, or you could even do like blackish brown, like a really deep black brown.
Black,
Would be neat.
Yeah.
That would the brown. If you go with a true brown, like if you do like brown, like I'm doing here, you'll see how similar the brown and the red become.
Right. Yeah, that's what I don't want.
Hot pink or plaid, says Paint Liquor, because that's all he knows. Those are the only two colors he knows.
I mean, I would do hot
As if
pink
plaid
leather.
was a color.
I would be down for hot pink leather. Make her hair a different color.
Paint Liquor, I do notice that you're fair in telling all of us to paint with pink and plaid, and that you're not just picking on me. So I do appreciate that, by the way. Did not go unnoticed. That you troll equally.
That I know one other color, Payne's gray, and you're welcome.
Fluid Art uses burnt sienna as a base for red hair. It's great.
Yeah.
It is great. I like oranges as a base.
Yeah, I did the big, like the Attack of the Woman. But I made her hair.
Sergeant
She's got red
something.
hair, and I did mahogany.
Yeah, mahogany's a great
good
base for red.
For red.
Burnt sienna is a great base. It's just a little bit oranger mahogany, actually.
Maybe I. Oh, I really want. I feel like she wants red hair.
She wants red hair?
Yeah, I think so.
Believe it or not, you know, again, a base of blue to get some really cool shading is neat for red hair.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, no, I've painted red hair. I feel okay about that part. I'm just trying to decide what color to make the hat.
Oh. Well, again, thinking about what is closest to it, it's going to be the red hair as far as intrusive colors go, right? So, depending on how you're going to do your red.
I mean, they.
Oh, yeah. No, you can do black, green, brown. It's a fantasy model. You can do whatever color you want. Pink,
Sure, I
plaid.
could make it pink, huh?
Yeah. Pink would not look good with red hair.
No.
I'll toss that out there.
Yeah.
Unless you want full
Not really
Barbie
gonna
vomit.
It's dark purple, and I'm going for this. Dark purple, green.
Oh,
and
look at
red.
that. You're going to underpaint it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try. See.
Trying something new, chat.
I've done it before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Trying to set up that semi-spherical shine on his helmet. Keep the hot spot on the faceplate area. I want a little bit of brightness to come back down around where the ear would be, too.
Gotta keep you guys on your toes.
His new look for Jordan. Here to keep the stream on time. She's sick of me going over. Like, we have work to do. You can't be in here goofing off with these people all the time. File needs, you need to start painting busts. They're a lot of fun. I know that they're intimidating for a lot of people, you know, because they are generally in the world, you know, as soon as you learn about miniatures and get into this world, when you start seeing busts, it's generally that those are the ones that are painted for the, you know, the contests, right? That's what all the great painters paint.
So glad I don't know these things.
Right?
Like,
exactly.
I never think about stuff like that. Like, I
Jen,
just see a model that I like, and I'm like, I want to paint that.
Jen is legit your best resource for figuring this out. Look at the way she just said she treats it. She paints rule of cool 100% of the time.
All the time.
Jen's like, ooh, I want to paint that. And sometimes I look at what she says she wants to paint,
Like,
and I go, I'm going to enjoy watching you paint that, you know, because it's a model that I'm like, that's going to be a heck of a paint job. Bald GM, what is going on? Thank you for the raid.
The thing is I am kind of a big talker, because I don't get a chance to paint very often.
We are doing great, Bald. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Raiders. My name is Jason. That over there is Jen.
Hello.
We are Monument Hobbies, manufacturers of the wonderful Acryl paints. You may know us. Maybe you've seen some of our stupid commercials.
A good one coming up.
Foxy joined GM just in time to leave. No! John, what's going on? Expand your horizons. Yeah, I mean, busts give you a really unique situation because generally a bust, well, busts can have more detail, but generally busts have less detail, but more specific areas of material to them. Like this one, especially that she's painting as a academic bust, is limited in what it has on it, but all of the details on it are something different. There's nothing repetitive, right? You can call Shinobi a bust because, again, no legs, but it's, you know, it's a much more of a paint job, right? Because it's a detailed miniature. It's just missing from, like, you know, just above the knees. And so some are like this that are mainly like just painting larger miniatures, and you get the full experience. You get all the details that you would get with a mini. And then there are busts that are a lot more limited in the features and details on them, but are much better for practicing certain ways of techniques of painting. Papaya Pariah, great name.
Papaya
Thank you for that. And throwaway image, thank you for the Twitch
Somebody
Prime.
likes us.
Welcome to the family. Hello. John, Tony, thank you for the follows, everybody. Welcome,
Hey,
welcome to our
somebody
little
likes us.
world. We manufacture paints and brushes and hobby supplies right here at our factory in Phoenix, Arizona. And we do this live stream 5 days a week to sit here and paint with you guys. Help you get confident in your painting skills. We don't care what paints or brushes you're using. Feel free to join in at any time, ask questions. Our goal is to get everybody more excited about putting paint and brush to a model. Mo says, I love busts of all kinds. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to say yes. Models we are currently working on, the one I'm doing is the Death Knight from Journeyman Miniatures. Jen is working on the Road Girl Academic Bust from Journeyman Miniatures. Both of these are available at the Monument Hobbies web store, !store in chat. Amazing resin models from our friends Mally and Tim over at Journeyman.
I didn't have to do a single thing to this. I took it out of the box and primed it.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I told her, I said, that's a good pick because I don't think you have much prep. And she had zero prep. She stuck it on the poster tack on the cork that we use as a painting handle here. That was it. I'm a fan. Stonewall, what type of palette do I use? It's a piece of glass that I use. Jen is currently using a piece of palette paper. Gray palette paper. Jordan uses, who's not here right now, obviously. Jordan uses a wet palette. So we have all types. I prefer a dry palette, always have.
I do as well, just because I've learned. I haven't been painting very long.
You learned all my bad habits.
Everything I know, I learned from Jason.
Oh, God. Now it's my fault.
It's your.
I'm always being blamed for stuff. I guess if I'm going to be blamed for everything, that one's a good one. Better one, at least.
Tony Hall wants to know what scale these are.
So the Death Knight is about 105 millimeter, I would say. That one over there is not more than about 50 millimeter. It's a small bust because it's just head and shoulders, right? A lot less size. That one. But I would say that the Death Knight is about 105 mil. If you take, like, what do I have around here? We call Space Marines. This guy's probably a 40-something millimeter, right? He's, yeah, somewhere around 100, 105 mil. About that big. Of course, when I do this, it's like, how big are your hands? I don't know. I like figures in this scale. My preferred scale to paint in, if I had to pick one that I wish every model was in, would be 75 millimeter. Just a little under, or a little over half as big as this guy, like up to his hand here, from foot to hand. I love 75 millimeter scale models. That's what we did our entire line of models in for the paint party, right? It's what Horus was, what all of the 40K Primarchs are. Ephria, 75 mil. This is my preferred scale. Why? I don't know. I just love it. I like that as well. I love it. It's a really manageable scale for full-bodied figures. Even when they get bulky, you know, like big, gigantic, muscle-bound, armored dudes, 75 mil feels good. It gives you a lot of surface area to do techniques on and to have fun with the paint. But I love 75 mil. That being said, I'll paint any scale you throw at me. Doesn't matter. Well, I don't really like doing much more than about 105 mil. I'm trying to stay away from huge models. I mean, I do like when it makes sense, like a giant, you know. I can have fun painting something that is big because in the game that it goes in is intended to be big. But I'm not trying to paint like one, quarter scale human models or anything. 24-inch tall Cthulhu. No, I'm trying to stay away from stuff. Ain't nobody got time for that. Unless they're paying me 10 grand like they did on Hel Heraldez. Throw 10 grand at me, I mean, it's a totally different story. That thing wouldn't even fit on the screen to paint on stream, though. So.
Yeah.
Right eye keeps watering like no business. Models details as you get more and more into the highlights just start jumping out. It's incredible. There's so much cool stuff going on.
Is all that stuff on his arms and legs and stuff, that's metal, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Route, what's going on? Tons of detail on this guy.
Oh.
Tons of detail.
And that's the one, that was the newest one, right?
Yeah.
That they came out with?
Yep.
I mean, not
This
just,
is the
but
latest release. 75 mil sounds like a nice size, enough canvas to have fun. Yeah, exactly. It feels like, because I love painting things like dreadnoughts, the larger characters for 40K and stuff, and they start approaching that 75 mil, right? Like I said, Horus, that Babe J and I just painted, 75 mil, right? And so maybe he's a little less. Maybe he's like 70 mil. But, you do something like this, and it is a great size model. Now, GW puts way too much crap on their models. So at this scale, it tends to feel a little overwhelming sometimes because of the fact that there's so much detail on GW models, rivets and hoses and skulls and things and whatever, but it's still a great scale. So a lot of it still comes down to the sculptor being responsible enough to understand what painting is about and not overdoing it with stuff. I think that right now we live in a world where sculptors are not in tune with painting as much as they need to be. Because 3D sculpting has just become so ubiquitous almost. Tons of people studying it and doing it. And as a sculptor, if you're an artist, putting more stuff on there is you doing your art. But you have to understand what your end game is. If you're sculpting a model for a video game, then maybe putting all that crap on there makes sense. If you're sculpting a model for painting, maybe holding back a little bit makes sense because the painters don't need to paint all that crap. Honest to God, we don't need that much stuff on models. This model is one where all of the engraving, I nearly said embroidery, all of the engraving on the armor and everything is part of the story. So I get it.
Can that model be used in the game?
I mean, you could have him be like a boss in Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Because the scale of him is such that you could get away with that. He'd be like a giant undead thing. But no, not meant for that.
Yeah.
But could definitely be used in that way, assuming you had a story you wanted to tell with a giant undead thing.
Yes. That.
What's that?
She's called the Road Girl. Route the Great just asked what I was painting. It looks like a pilot, maybe?
It's a road girl. She's like the female Mad Max.
Oh.
I have the,
Well, that
the
makes
full
sense.
body model down here.
I didn't even look at that one. I just
Technically, this is a bust like Shinobi. It doesn't have legs, but that's what she is.
I just walk by this one all the time and see it. And I'm like, oh,
She's like female Mad
that's
Max.
good.
Your players would nope out of that boss fight. Yeah, can you imagine walking into a room and he steps down off of his throne down the stairs holding a big goblet saying, "Welcome." I feel like if you were a DM or game master of some type and you're writing your own stories, the way I would envision something like this just off the cuff is that's the way it would happen. The characters would enter like maybe it's a dungeon, maybe it's a mountain, maybe it's an old castle that they found that they have to venture through, and they would get to the throne room early when they were way underleveled, and they would meet him, and he would know that they were just too easy prey, and so he would be like sending them off on quests, like give them what he believes are unattainable goals, right? That if they want to survive, got to go do this. So he becomes the game master, and he just sends them off and away. And as they build up strength by beating all of his tests and things, they wind up back at him, and he's very frustrated, and then they fight. That would be the story. That's what I would do. I give you that as a freebie. There you go. Yeah, because I always like the idea of the unbeatable encounter very early on. But rather than it just stomping your guts and making you have to go to a different part of the game map and feel frustrated, it becomes like a patron, you know? Like the big dragon you find, and it knows that you're not even worthy of its time, but you're not even worthy of like spending energy on, so it just plays with you. Verbal jousting. I can imagine this guy being the king of troublesome riddles. Oh, you don't know the answer? Well, it lies somewhere in my palace. Have fun. Knowing that all of the traps and ghouls and beasties in his palace will take care of you, he just sends you off to your death anyway, thinking it's all done. And he's surprised when you come back with the answer. And he sends you off on quest number 2, and then it just builds. It's a very standard trope, but would be a fun way to put a very daunting character in front of your party very early on, and then the whole journey they're thinking about how they can beat this big daunting character. They learn more about him, her, it as they go through their trials, right? He gives up more of his own story and his frustration, lets slip some weakness, and then eventually they can fight him. be a good way to do a build up to the end.
You get to play a game tonight?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't think so. Unless I haven't spoken to Chris and or Gabe to know if they're coming. I know Phil is leaving.
Oh, that's right.
Because his girlfriend.
Something about a girlfriend.
He's got a girlfriend. No, but I know that she didn't have another night this weekend.
Have another night.
So Friday night game night, a little lackluster. I know Ruben and Eric are doing some Lord of the Rings, so I'll hang out and watch them. You listen to an interview with Sean Sutter from Metal God or Metal King or Metal Blade. I don't remember what his studio's called. He doesn't view his minis as completed sculptures until the painter is done painting them. That's the best way. The painter is 50% of the experience. And if you sculpt miniatures thinking you've done the whole work, which I see a lot of them, a lot of companies out there take a lot of pride in their miniatures, and you should. But if you're not thinking about the painter, which a lot of sculptors and sculpting companies are not painters, then all of a sudden you get a model that looks great until it goes to be painted, and it's either just too much or isn't fun. And you just got to be careful with it. It doesn't mean that there's only one way to do a thing. It just means think about it. You know, what you say, Sean's great, right? And you can see it in the Relic Blade stuff. The sculpts are not simplistic, but they're simple, if that makes sense. They leave a lot of room for the painter to explore the model, create some neat stuff. Because it is a shared experience between the sculptor, who you as a painter may never meet, painter that the sculptor may never meet. By sculptors like Joaquin Palacios, Michael Contreras, those guys and gals have got the best of all worlds. They work directly with and are commissioned by some of the best artists, painter-wise, in the world to do the sculpts and get that kind of direction on what, you know, the painter needs, wants, expects, things like that. Helps a ton. And a lot of them are renowned painters on their own, so that never hurts. Carol Rudick. I think that as a product designer of any kind, the product is never complete until the end user has put it through all of its use and gotten the benefit from it, right? That's true, and I came from the world of electronics, inventor there, and I had to argue with engineering firms all the time. What?
I just found.
Okay. I had to argue with engineers and engineering firms all the time because they would be like, no, this is the way it needs to be. And I'm like, well, has anybody outside of this engineering firm agreed with you? Well, why would we care? Want it to be successful? Want to actually sell this thing you're spending all this time on? You need to take the end user into account. Understand them better. That it's like a little miniature dragon skeleton clinging onto his helmet. All right, gang, now it's time for the bright color.
Bright colors?
Yeah, khaki.
Oh.
Because remember, we're trying to get to the waistline. This? Everywhere.
Oh, okay. So that's all going to be the same.
Yeah.
That all look.
It's exactly how I painted this. I just wanted to test on the waistline. Now, have I forgotten to do this part over here again? I think I have, right? Or did I do that yesterday? I feel like maybe we did this yesterday, and like it's probably the right color. Yeah. Keep forgetting that spot on this model. Like 6 times I've forgotten to paint that spot. Keep telling myself, don't forget it again. Oh, then you forget it. There's a lot of sculpts for 3D printing that don't suit the painter. Used to be challenging to find good STLs, but now we've been spoiled in the last few years. Yeah. That don't suit the painter. Well, believe it or not, we've talked about this. A lot of the sculptors that are doing the Patreons and things like that come from the world of sculpting for video games, right? They're doing 3D models for video games. Lots of them. Like, lots of them. And when you do your model for video games, like, you can do a real whip-thin antenna, and it's great. Because it never has to exist in the physical world. It's never going to break. It can be all this really cool spiky crap all over the armor, because as long as you can skin it in the game or in the video that you're creating for, Hollywood model, whatever, as long as in the CGI process you can put coloring and a visual skin on it and make it work, then it works. As long as you can animate it and the things go in the right direction, great. You know? As soon as you physicalize it, some of those models are impossible. Absolutely impossible. And that's where they break, right? It's like you 3D print them and, oh, you can 3D print that. Yeah, but you can't handle it. Meaning that you can't do what I'm doing. Turn it around, put pressure on the spike with a paintbrush. You know, people tend to forget there's a lot of important things that have to happen while painting. All of them require physical contact. And if I put the paintbrush on the model and things start snapping off, that's not very conducive to painting, right? So yeah, we stopped going through and subscribing to a lot of the Patreons because they just kept adding more and more detail. And they may be dealing with patrons that ask for that. And the only concern that I have there, or the only thing that I would say there, is that more likely than not, that group of patrons are not painting. They may be printing and not painting the models, you know? Or if you're just like base coating and putting a wash on them, maybe. I don't know. Because there's some out there that I'm like, wow. Number one, they're very hard to print and to take off the supports on because of the level of detail and T90 bits and pieces. So you hope that as time goes, you would see, but some of the ones that we used to subscribe to for just printing out to paint on stream gotten worse and worse and worse. Like the detailing has just gotten out of hand. I'm like, wow. But you lose touch if you don't have to make physical models from your stuff. You're not the one making them. Guaranteed. Don't get you started, Darth. You feel the pain. It's a weird world in the 3D printing arena because you have so many people that have terabytes and terabytes of STLs that don't ever get around to printing them and then don't model or paint them once they do print them in a lot of cases. So it's a very strange market in what it demands and how it expects the models to be, I think. It's very unique. In that regard.
Avian Thulium. Are you sure I'm not Baby J? Could be.
Lied to you about bright colors. I was going to jump to khaki, but I realized I hadn't done a little bit of still need to do. Hi, coming over there.
Good.
Be quiet.
Focus.
Tunnel vision. We all have J names. It's a JJ and J show.
Yeah.
We only hire people with J names. Except for Phil, Shelby, Brennan,
Maddie.
Ruben, Eric, Liam, Maddie, Carter, Jacob.
Christian.
Jacob.
Oh, Jacob. Christian.
So 9 out of 13 ain't bad. Oh, 10, Gabe. So 10 out of 14 ain't bad. We have 4 J's. 14 people? You guys realize, like, when reality hits around here, it hits hard. You realize that in 2020, this time in 2020, you know how big our company was? Somebody guess. 3 years ago, how big was Monument Hobbies? 3. Anybody remember? 2 people.
You're looking at him right
Raise
here.
your hand if you work for Monument Hobbies this time in 2020. That's it. That's it. Just the 2 of us. 2 of us. How many of you were here in 2020 for the streams where I had to be capping and bottling paint? Does anybody remember this? Where I had the iPad and I had the webcam turned around. The paint station was over there. Yeah. I turned the webcam around 180 degrees and I sat there and I talked to chat while bottling paints. Anybody remember this? 3 years ago, this was a thing. Now we're counting how many people don't have the letter J as their first name.
Crazy.
A big thank you to everybody out there. You guys have been amazing. So it's all because of you.
4 times before the plague.
It was
right as it was starting.
Yeah, it was right as the plague was starting.
I was gonna say.
GeoTortoise, how did you scale the team so fast over 3 years and keep quality high? It's a great question. If you know about business modeling and growth, it's a testament to how quickly the business grew because we've hired based on need, not based on expectation here ever. Like we just hired our first 2 employees based on expected outcomes, right? Jordan is one of them and Gabe is another. They're both in creative roles here. Everybody else is hired on a we have a need basis. So we work very, very efficiently. Jen and I took the company to an extreme level with just two of us, and some support from like people that came in part time.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
and then we hired Ruben.
Ruben
in September, October of 2020.
Ruben was before any part-time fill-in people. I don't think we had anybody.
Yeah, we had the motorcycle guy.
Blake? That was after Ruben.
No, it was before.
Was it?
Blake came in and just helped me.
Oh, okay.
And then we hired Ruben. And then Blake was there as we moved into the new place and then left.
Okay.
Yeah, he was hurting too bad.
Yeah.
Came around that September, yeah. You surprised we didn't kill ourselves? It was tough. It's still tough because we still work that way. We still work with the entire company based on need. And so we get maximum efficiency out of all of our operation. And then we all sit down and we talk about it. We're very open. The team sits down during our staff meetings. We have one this next coming Thursday. And in our staff meetings, we talk about the expectation of output, how input is coming in, order handling, all of that. And then we really ask people, do we need another person there? And in most cases, believe it or not, our team will say no.
Yeah.
They will say, no, I think we can do this. I think we can do this. If we just do this better, if we get a process for this, if we move this person here. So we've been able to do amazing things with a very, very small. Right. When we talk to people, like, I dread to say bigger business people, but that's the way as a person that still doesn't believe what Monument Hobbies is today, we talk about people that are real business people, right? And we talk to these people, and like Jen and I went out to a lunch, we tell people how many employees we have, and they just kind of look at each other. The two guys kind of looked at each other like, wait a minute. You're doing this much business and you don't have double the amount of employees you do? Which sometimes hurts, you know? But we like our little family. We like for people to be comfortable here. We like for people to be taken care of. We don't want to just hire people and then have to get rid of them with, when things slow down and stuff like that. So that's how we've done it.
Yeah.
Yar, it's Tony. Aren't we supposed to get a Chevette? I mean, have we reached the threshold? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think we're still like $49 billion away, right? You can't still be waiting on your Chevette. That was all on you guys, right? That was all on you guys. Tony, you started building terrain, scenics, and dioramas at the beginning of the plague years, trying to work out how work a J into your name now. Sauger found us during COVID when you're getting frustrated with how goopy Vallejo paints could be. Nice.
Oh, another local. Hello, Phoenicians.
Val needs, are the transparent paints the same as some other companies that are made for painting Army speed paints? No. They can be used that way with our glaze wash medium, right? So we have a product called the glaze wash medium. And the glaze wash medium mixed with our transparent paints makes for amazing, quick painting experience. We did, Jen and I painted these two models here that way, right? We've done a lot of models showing you how to use the glaze wash medium. These, I think we painted this guy in.
You did yours in a stream, and I did too.
Yeah, it both was like a 2-hour stream, but it wasn't quite the 2-hour period to paint the model in either case, right? And this was just a zenithal primed model with the transparent paints done with the glaze wash medium and just pounded on there. And then a little bit of highlighting with the normal colors, right? Dry brush, you can do whatever. So you can get armies painted super, super quickly that way. Or you can also do very detailed work. We did this guy. I say very detailed work. This guy was done the same way with normal colors and transparents, right? And this is all done very, very quick. Even the non-metallic was done that way, right? The steel shoes and armbands and stuff. So this was all done with transparents and glaze wash medium and fast painting. So you can do all sorts of really cool effects with it. But what they are is they're just acrylic paints. So just like our normal paints, the transparent paints will give you even more vibrant colors than our normal paints. They're mostly single pigment paints. They just have a translucence to them to where they're not near opaque right out of the bottle, but they're very color intense. They're very much like inks, although inks are mostly opaque. The transparents are, as the name says, transparent, not the actual word, translucent, but that didn't sound as good. So they're more translucent. so that you can then thin them down to be whatever you need them to be. You can use them as just barely a filter of color over the top of something else. The green that we did on our Battletech miniatures here, right? This green is one layer of black, green, and yellow transparent mixed together, done over the base coat color. So the base coat color was this kind of tan look. We just put the green over the top of that and then edge highlight it with bright yellow green. That's all that is. 100% just one layer of transparent mix over the top of the base coat color and then using the bright yellow green as an edge highlight. That's all that is. So it shows you the power of them because you can use them to filter over the top of things, or you can use them as very intense colors in their own right. So they're the most flexible paints that we make by far. Those Skeletor-looking mutants are cool. Those are, I forget what they're called. They're Romantic Kings of War. Butchers or something like that. All right, now we're going to paint with khaki. Ball GM, yep, transparent orange. They're all fantastic, and like I said, they're the most flexible paints because you can use them, like he's saying, work them into a metallic paint or into a metallic scheme as just a little hint of color that warms it up or moves it, but it won't crush the metallic shine away, right? If you use a normal paint and mix it with your metallics, you tend to dilute the metallic shine so much that you don't really feel like you're painting with a metallic paint. The transparents won't do that. Thin them down, add it to metallic, you can get any color metallic you want. Because we have a white and a black transparent paint as well, you can mix all the transparents to get 256,000 colors and then mix them with whatever else you want or paint with them on your own. They're amazing. Everybody that finds them is like, what are these for? They're like, I wanted to buy all your stuff, so I bought them, but I don't know how to use them. And then we tell them, and they're like, ooh. If you like to try to paint like CMYK style, you can grab the yellow transparent, the blue transparent, the dark magenta paint from John's set, right?
Not part of the transparent line.
Not part of the transparent line, but it is a transparent paint. It's part of the signature series.
Yeah.
And black transparent, white transparent, and you can paint CMYK like a dream. All right, gang, off we go into the wild blue yonder. This is where it goes from green to bronze. This is both the most exciting and scariest point of painting non-metallic metal. The K is your chroma, and that's white and black. The K is a combo, not just black. It has to be your tint, your shade. So, not just black. You need white too. CMYK is actually 5 colors. In normal situations, you would only need 4 colors because you're adding all of those colors like we talked about earlier to a white tint base. So white is the base that you put all those colors into to get your final color. When you're painting that way from 0, the K stands for white and black because you're going to need both. But when you're talking about creating paint like at Home Depot, right? It will generally be 3 colors and black dumped into a bunch of white to make your color. Yeah, the printers don't need white ink if they're printing on white substrate, right? But our CMYK printer that prints on everything other than paper The one that we use for paintbrush handles has to have white. It actually has to have a primer too. The primer layer, and then white. It also has clear. Like, all just depends on what you're printing on as to whether or not you need the white and or the black. That's why your full color printer can't do full color on blue paper. CMYKW printer. It's still just called CMYK, but yeah. Bouncing around. There's so many details here. I want to see how they're all picking up the bright color. Very easy to sync every other detail you've done because some of these lines are only as thick, right, as the actual paintbrush. So I can't like go over an entire line with a brighter color. Otherwise, I don't get the previous color showing at all. So I just got to do the little bitty spots here. And my brush is very tired. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, meaning it needs to be retired. Check.
What size is it?
1.
Huh?
1?
What brush you're using?
Oh, synthetic 1.
Oh. I have a 2.
Might have another brand. Stable 0. Stable 2. Oh, yes. See? See? You know, I can cheat. This one. 00. Two. Ugh. Is it brand new?
Yeah.
Still got the thing on it? Maybe I'm using the one that I took out of this one.
Probably.
Give all those tables to. Have a brush.
Throwing brushes. I mean, 2.
Woohoo! Brand new 1. Woohoo! Is a brand new 2, brand new 4, and a brand new 6 as well.
Be bragging about this. People are gonna get real mad.
Is a brand new number 1 Sable. That's worth $1 million. That's worth about $1 million. Is it bad, Route, that you own 4 3D printers but not a single inkjet or laser printer? I don't know if that's bad. Oh. Oh. The beauty, the majesty. Only if you need to print a report about how your printers did. About the time where everybody should ask me, Jason, why didn't you do that 2 days ago?
Said that, I'm
Tend to do that, don't they? Route says, what makes me prefer the synthetics over the sables? I like a stiffer brush because of the way that I like to texture. Generally, because of the way that I paint. You'll notice that I don't I very rarely sit and just go line and done. I go line, 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 right? And so that's rougher on brushes, and I need the brush to be a little stiffer in order to pull that off so that it snaps back. We did a very good discussion yesterday. I think Jen's going to clip it.
I'm gonna clip it.
Had a really, really good discussion yesterday about brushes and brush types and why they work the way they do and what to look for in your own painting style that might help you determine what brush would be good for you to try. Yeah, the sables are great. They're great. You know, I painted with them for years. Sables were the first thing we made. And prior to us coming up with the synthetics that we currently have, that's all I ever used. When we made the det cords, which were the first synthetic that really performed admirably enough to replace synthetics in my normal use case, it really got me thinking, hey, I really do like this snap better. Can we do better than these? And then we did the Pro Synthetics. That's what I'm painting with right now. That's what you've seen over the last, since we came out with the Pro Synthetics 2 years ago, right? That's about all you've seen me use.
All I use, even though I know you guys don't see me very often.
But the way that I paint beats the crap out of brushes as also because, you know, every time you hit the model with a brush, you're wearing it. And because I don't just go line, I go line, 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 you know, you would do one amount worth of I don't want to say damage, but wear. You know, you have one amount of wear this way, and I have 9. You know, so the math doesn't quite work out that way, but it feels like it sometimes. I beat the crud out of them. To the point to where my sables tend to blunt. I lose the tip because I break the tips off of my sables. I have a very light amount of pressure when I paint generally, but that doesn't save the brush from having the tip exposed to a lot of pressure during painting because of how many times I touch the model to get the job done. Sounds bad when you say it that way. But
Route the Great wants to know if you still get tip curl with your synthetics, and there's actually a lot you can do. Prolong that, it's inevitable.
I don't get a lot. I showed off yesterday again why I don't get a lot. I get more with the smaller brushes because they don't paint the same way that a larger brush does. But I'll demonstrate what I did yesterday, so you see why my painting style doesn't, number one, care about a curled tip, but number two, doesn't produce them very often. And the reason is because, let's grab a number 2 or whatever. Very dirty brush. But, I'll get a bunch of paint on the brush, and then let me get paint. This. So number one, you know that I will always take a bunch of the material, moisture, off of the brush before I touch the model, because you don't ever want to take a fully loaded brush and hit your model unless you're base coating, right? You're going to take a lot of that off of there. And I do it in a manner that flattens out the brush. So I get, no point this direction and a very sharp edge this way, right? So it's wider one way and sharper the other. That way I can come in here, and with the sharp side, I can do a nice fine line if I need to, and then I can turn it for my base coating, right? So I can do big heavy coverage, and then I can rotate it to that knife's edge and do a nice thin line. Okay? So I use my brush, can do anything I need it to do without switching brushes, right? Even this beat up brush that I'm using here. And so by doing so, you're constantly rotating, because you'll be like this, right? Where it's more like a cat tongue or a filbert we were talking about yesterday. It's broad and rounded on the corners, which is great for base coating. And then when you turn it this way, you have this knife's edge that does all my thin detailing, because I'm actually painting with this corner. It's not really a corner, it's rounded, but I'm painting with this corner of the brush when I'm doing my detailing, because I turn it like this, and so you're painting with the edge of the tip. And then the more you paint with that side, it starts to flatten that out until eventually you get back to where now you've reversed the way that wide side is. It's now where the sharp side was, and so you rotate your brush 90 degrees to get back to the thin spot, and then you paint with that until that starts to flatten out. And the more pressure you put on it, the more it flattens out, and then you turn back and you get your knife's edge this way, and you paint that way. So you're constantly rotating your brush back and forth 90 degrees, which prevents them getting a memory of being painted with in any one direction. So even this old beat up brush doesn't have tip curl. It starts to blunt. Like I said, that's what happens to me. Like now, this one probably won't hold a superior round point because I paint with the edge of the tip so much. And so that the very tips of the hair start to fray around the tip. So it gets blunt. But because of the way I'm painting, a brush lasts me a lot longer. Like that wouldn't work for a lot of painters, right? Because it doesn't hold a good tip. But for me, it holds a perfect tip. I still get that knife's edge just like you would, right? But I'm painting with the side of the brush where it's sharp and gives me a fine line, as opposed to wanting to paint with a tip. And one of the most important things I said yesterday is that three-dimensional objects, you should not be painting with the tip of the brush. You should be painting with the side of the brush more. Painting with the tip of the brush is not something brushes are made for. No brush on the planet, other than there might be some pointy, short bristle thing that's supposed to act like a pencil. But brushes aren't meant to paint with the tip. They're meant to paint with the side of the brush. That's how they deliver the best paint output. That's how you avoid a lot of the wear and tear. But in miniature painting, for some reason, we all paint with a brush, with a tip. We all want to treat it like a pencil, right? Which causes you to grip the brush a lot harder, which causes you to not get better blends. So Jen's going to clip that from yesterday. We talked about this. I don't want to go all over it again. But yesterday we did a big, long conversation about exactly this. So we'll get it up on YouTube so you can see. I'm sure it will cause some ire for people. Yeah, spinning your brush causes problems too, right? Because as you spin your brush to get a tip, you train your brush to stay in that curled shape. And you always have to spin it. And that's why when it dries out, it'll like spray out into the worst wild hair day ever. None of these are bad. Understand that I'm not telling you the way you're painting is bad. I'm just saying that there is a a physical composition to a brush that makes it work better in certain situations than others. And in the world of miniature painting, we tend to gripe about things that would not be problems to 99.9% of the artists out there painting in other ways. Doesn't mean we have to change. It just means that we have to look at what we're doing and how we maintain and how we, what brush you're using. So right now, I'm having to paint with the tip because I can't get the side of the brush on these super fine details. This is limited to, like, if you were doing a canvas painting right now, this would be limiting to doing like the finest part of a hair follicle or something when I was painting. Because I have so much tiny engraved detail on this, I will be using the point quite a bit on this particular model. Every chance I can, like now, using the side. And you can generally turn the model to where you can continue to use the side of the brush rather than the point. And that alone will cause you to see your brush last a lot longer. So, good example, like instead of twisting my brush, when I go through to take paint off, I do a swipe, rotate 90 degrees, swipe, rotate 90 degrees, swipe, rotate 90 degrees, swipe. That gets a sharp point to my brush, as you can see, but it doesn't twist the hairs. Same thing, right? Same utility, different way of doing it. Keeps your brush lasting a lot longer. It's funny, when we first started making brushes, our partners in Germany, right, we would call and we would be like, hey, finding these brushes are, the points are a little off. Be like, oh no, send us pictures. And send them the pictures, and they're like, it's a perfect brush. And they came and watched the stream one day to see how we were painting and what we needed, and they were like, oh.
Now we understand. Different.
Able to change the shape of the bundle a little bit to help that. Looking good. I always worry about things with all these details on them that by the time you get done highlighting, if you're not careful and you don't leave enough shadow, even where shadow wouldn't be, but on metal it tends to feel like dirt's piled in there, which I like. Tarnish. Because normally you wouldn't have a lot of line and contrast up on the top of this thing here, but by leaving that darkness, I'll get a more metallic feel. Light would actually be reflecting in there, and so that wouldn't be necessarily as dark as it is if the light is up here shining down. But by leaving it, you get a more tarnished metal approach or look, right? But a lot of times I forget and I start painting like, oh, that would be bright, and I paint, and then you overbrighten it, and then the details don't stand out the way you want to, which is more realistic but doesn't help the model. Like the sculptor put all this stuff on here, let's try to help show it off. Route, thank you. Am I showing you the new stuff you can go order on the store again? What? These models. You can go order these models Jen and I are painting right now. They're new. I don't know if you can tell. I really enjoy this model.
Good. I really enjoyed this one.
I think it speaks volumes that I can say that I haven't enjoyed a model this much since painting the Shinobi, which is also from Journeyman Miniatures.
Yeah. Made good stuff.
I enjoyed painting Horus to a point. Then when it came time for the details on Horus, I was done. I was like, this model can take a hike.
Too many, or?
Yeah, just too much stupid detail. Because, you know, all that comes at the end. You've already got the basis of all your color, and, you know, in that case, armor and everything's looking good. You have to go to, and you start getting into the details, and it's like, oh, look at this. There's more crap I gotta paint, you know? It's hard to maintain like a line of shine when you have all this interruption to the surface, but you're still trying to create that, right? So we've got that line of shine that starts at the peak in the middle of all of this. It follows along his nose and then fades off as we go into the inside of the cuff there. That'll kind of follow with this angle here down onto the wrist. Yeah, the Road Girl bust is really neat. That's the academic, so it really is just shoulders and head for you to practice techniques on. Jen's doing some underpaint, overpaint. What color are you using right now? Mahogany?
Dark flesh.
Dark flesh. Oh, you started with a dark color. Liking it. I really like the way the cheeks are looking on that.
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, it looks crazy, but I think it's working.
It definitely is. You gonna do her with darker skin?
No. But I need to, in the directions, I just use this instead of burnt red.
Gotcha, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. How long you want to go?
As long as you do. I mean,
Wanna
that's not.
You want to go to 3?
Sure.
Okay. We're going to paint an hour longer than we normally do, chat. I am going to take a quick break, though, because it's normal stream stop time. Hit the head, grab a drink, refill my water.
I will let you guys all know that I am doing this methodology for the skin.
And Jen's in charge of fart jokes for a little bit.
Yeah, so I did the whole thing today, and I did all this today on the streams. Here's where we are right now. So I did dark purple on all of the flesh, and then the next step was, it says gamma green, I think. But I used black green because I couldn't find. And then I'm just building it up from there. And the methodology said to use burnt red. So it said to do dark purple, and then where the highlights would be, you start with the camo green, and then between the two colors, so between the dark purple, between the camo green, you're supposed to do burnt red. But I wanted to do dark flesh. When Jason made this methodology, we didn't have dark flesh wasn't a color. That's where and those tutorials are on our website, and there's a tab on the left-hand menu that's called tutorials. There's also, I believe, in our Discord, I think that there's also a place with all of them there. I really liked the image on the box because it really nice reference for like where the highlight. So I'm kind of trying to replicate this in my highlights. Getting there. Right now I'm on yellow green. That might be overkill. Because on the methodology it says to go from just straight green to bright yellow green. But you guys have seen me paint before, you know that I make a million layers. Probably unnecessary. But it's pretty fun.
I don't hear any fart jokes.
We told him already. Done.
I do not hear enough fart jokes, people. I don't understand what the problem is. May you monopolize my time and ask for CNC when we get a chance? Better if I do that offline rather than during the stream on a Friday. But yeah, definitely. Ping me in the Discord. Like, make sure you @ me in the Discord on your post and whip. And I will definitely take a look at it with you. No problemo. Always happy, sir. Your first time layering. I like it. I'll be excited to see it. That goes the same for everybody. Our Discord is a wonderful place to come hang out. Not only learn about painting, but just make friends, talk random BS, show off your pets,
Food
and workstations. You
all
name it.
kinds of activity over there.
Tons of amazing artists just like yourselves that more than happy share their own experiences and everything from 3D printing and sculpting to game list building, you name it. A little bit of everything for everybody. Exclamation point Discord and chat over there. But are there fart jokes? Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought I left you guys in control of all that, but it seems like that didn't happen. Jen, we need to buy Jen the book of fart jokes.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Sarge says, what is going on? Hooah! What's going on, Sarge? Thank you. Good to see you. How's your Friday going? Everybody's doing well. Got the best plans for the weekend. Who's going to make us all jealous? That?
Do we have any plans for this? Do you have any plans?
I have big plans. Huge big plans.
Oh.
I am the king of huge big plans.
It's true.
Which is another way of saying no, I have no plans. None at all. How well do Acryl paints mix? You've heard some paints sometimes do not mix well because they're not single pigment. So there is a misnomer in that paints that are not single pigment don't mix well. That's not true. The difference is that you have to pay very close attention to the balance of pigmentation in your mix, right? In order to make sure that when you do use your paints and mix them, that they don't turn into mud, right? And we are very aware of that process. Our paints mix like a dream. This model has been done with a lot of different mixes of khaki and greens. Get us this base of bronze going. Nowhere along the line do any of them start to feel bad. Yeah, we make our paints specifically to be able to mix and blend anything you want at any time. Know the quality you're going to get. Never be afraid to reach for a color and mix it. Very consistent. We do use single pigment where possible, but realize that single pigment 99.9% of the time is going to give you a very non-opaque paint. Our transparent paints are single pigment. And while that's great, you don't get opacity from single pigment paints. And as painters of sculptures, opacity is king in most cases for your base layers and your highlights especially, and all sorts of things in between. So you need to have that opacity, and you get that opacity by adding white and black to your paint. What have I been doing? But yeah, you'll see me mix a ton. And that's one of the reasons why we don't ever plan to have like 400 colors, because we don't need them. Your confidence when mixing our paints only grow and grow and grow as you get used to them. Because like you said, like other paints out there, you may have found that when you mix two colors, you don't get necessarily what you thought you were going to get. You get some sort of muddy, lukewarm version of it. You have to worry about that with Acryl. James Meeks, what's going on? How you been?
Big Bobzilla.
What?
Gasp.
Not possible. Dark magenta, definitely. Yep. Titanium white. Full black. Quite a few. Doing good, James. Just a lovely Friday in the studio with a rare appearance from Jen. You can't get much better than this. Jay's been out all week sick and decided to join us for Friday, so you guys didn't have to spend the whole week just putting up with me.
I know how torturous that can be.
It was firsthand.
Here for you guys.
And I'm painting miles and miles of non-metallic crazy armor on the Death Knight. Go see what's going on. Take it easy, route. New hair hell. I'm actually enjoying it. There's enough variation in it. I'm really digging all of the engraved, debossed, whatever you want to call this detailing on here. It keeps the armor very interesting to find your reflective areas. I mean, it's all reflective, but where you're going to grab your shine, peek it out the most. Yeah, the shinobi hair gets old, right? Because it's just hair. Nothing fancy to it. There's one of those features I just want to pick a color and be done. James, awesome. Yeah, the glazed wash medium is superb. Out of stock, I think, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hope to have it back in a week or so. One of those products that has always beat our expectations in sales as people find out about it. Really get into the groove of using it. Tend to run out quick. Last time I think is because we have a new shipment going out to the UK right now.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be leaving out on Monday. So if you live overseas, well, UK specifically overseas,
Coming your way.
good news for you guys. Big restock of signature sets, all the new basing materials, everything.
Well, no brushes.
Except for brushes.
Everything that we have, they will soon have.
But let's do a super zoom here so you can get an idea for all the freaking detail. Oh, I guess that's the whole screen one, huh? On like the inside of that eyeball on the chest plate there is insane. There's no distortion of any of the lines on the face, even as it goes into that big undercut area. Super cool. Yeah, the glazed wash medium will make speed paint out of any color in your arsenal, no matter the manufacturer. Want to turn your favorite color of red into a contrast paint? Just grab our glazed wash medium and go for it. Easy. Looks intimidating. It's a lot of detail, right? Everything, all the metal. Everything else is simple. There's not a lot of everything else. There's like the leather on his gut and knees, and then the cloth that I'm doing it is like red leather on his skirt, and then his robe. Not a lot going on, so kind of crazy. I started looking at it, and I think I got to repaint this because it's part of this. So these will be the same color when I'm done. I got to figure out how to do that. Easier to change this than this. And then I'll make the pants a different color maybe. Yeah, it is a crazy model with the detail. But it hasn't put me into scream and yell about it territory yet. Enjoying the experience with it.
It's important.
Yeah, and not always the case.
Yeah.
Right? Easy to have a model that looks cool become very, like Horus, become just too much. You're just like, quit it. Like, what was this about? And right now we're just using pure khaki. I've been mixing khaki with the dark yellow green and the yellow green prior to this. Now we're moving to just plain khaki, and then after the khaki, we do a new color that is warm white. Part of the next series of paints that should be coming out in the next month or so. Yes, we have 12 new colors coming out. At least sooner than later. Just when you thought it was safe and you had all the colors. You
guys on your toes. James Meeks wants to know how to make a sepia wash.
Something like burnt sienna and glazed wash medium with water. Our flesh wash is really close. It depends on how you like to think about sepia. The flesh wash with a little bit of mahogany in it and some glazed wash medium can get you there very quickly, or you can just do like a burnt sienna kind of thing. Like I said, it depends on what you're looking for, right? The rusty kind of tones on this were done with the flesh wash, while on Gazgul, because we did the glazed wash medium with the burnt sienna. So the burnt sienna gives you a little bit more orangey flavoring to it, whereas the flesh wash, when it dries, gives you a deeper kind of rust. See those juxtaposed. Not quite as much orange. So if you want deeper, the flesh wash by itself gives you that. More of a brownish with a hint of orange. And then the burnt sienna with the glazed wash medium will give you a brighter orange, kind of rusty color. That's what I think about when I think about that sepia wash. So it's up to you. Mix the two. Play around. So you can wash bone. Oh my gosh. Flesh wash and brown wash are awesome. So this guy we did really fast. Right? So the goal with this guy was to just be able to get to a place where my Ossiarch Bone Reapers could be painted in a heartbeat. And so it was black, brown, and then dark ivory over the black, brown, dry brush really heavy, and then flesh wash, and then brown wash over the top of the flesh wash, right? And then another quick dry brush of the dark ivory over the top. So it gives me an old, dirty bone, but no matter how bright you wanted to go, you could do that. So it gives you a little bit of that kind of orangey, deserty, dusty feel in there. While the brown wash also gives it that kind of dirty shade. So the brown wash and the flesh wash together, I just layered them one over it. You could have mixed them together maybe, but I like the way it looked when I layered it over them. Gives me a really good old, like just dug out of the ground kind of bone. That was super fast. Super easy. See, I did it on the whole shebang for the arm. Yeah, was said in chat, the March challenge on the Discord had a sepia photo as the goal we were going for. But like I did mine with more greens than actual sepia tones. Our current brown transparent is really good as a sepia wash, so that's another option you could use. That's what I use to filter over the top of my challenge model, which is Mo's model that I keep forgetting to take photos of, and I need to mail it to him. Or Mo. You out there, Mo? Poor Mo waited years for me to paint his model. Then I painted his model, and now he's got to wait years for me to actually photograph it and put it in the mail. Your 30K wolves, like you painted the blood angels you did using glazed wash medium. Hopefully it works out. Nice. When you say paint them like the blood angels I did, how do you mean? I'm really liking this model. Every time I put another coat on it, all these details just get better and better and better. So much to look at on this guy. Volumes over black or dark gray and working up from there. Gotcha. Blood angels with the red. We just did the red normal layering up. The Death Company guys, we worked that a little different. For the black with a bit more that underpainting feel. Just tends to work better for black. Thinnest line ever right there. Balls. I don't even know what that is. Like a spear or something? Gee. I grabbed a new brush. Dying to ask me about Malazan, but you're waiting for Baby J to be present. Yeah, you probably need him to be because I have questions. Man, it's a weird one for me because I'm very interested in it. Not just because Baby J has tasked me with being interested in it, but because the storyline seems like it would be right up my alley for something I'll be very in tune with and like over time. But holy hell, is it really making you fight to get there? Like, there's characters I want to know more about, and they just don't have a story yet. Just don't feel like anything in this book makes me want to get to the end, other than the frustration of knowing there's got to be a good story here because of the way it's being told. I feel like we're being set up for greatness, but wow, killing me. Going through the part right now where there's the Malazan 5th Army or whatever is attacking some city, and the moon people are there protecting the city like mercenaries or something, and one of them is like the archmage of archmages, and all the mages from Malazan are very afraid of the situation, and they're about to go into combat. But it's all flashback, right? Because we've seen the end of the combat with some mage with his body blown in half. But again, none of the characters really make a lot of sense at this point, so I don't know. Animander Rake. Is that the guy? Back at shaking your cane at the kids in the yard. Get out of my yard. Were you really? Please tell me this is true, Mo. I want to believe, Mo, that you were the guy on the block that all the kids are scared or worried about. I can only aspire to this kind of greatness. I'm hoping in our new neighborhood maybe I can be that. I'm pretty sure our neighbors have kids because they had a sign that said drive like your kids are playing in the street or something like that.
Well, then we heard kids there.
Can't wait to be the new guy who's the get off my lawn guy. That'll be excellent. The first Malazan book takes a bit to get going. Okay. Yeah, it's being rough for me right now. It's like I feel like the author, is this his first book? Or has he done other books? Because it feels like a very freshman attempt at story writing as it begins, but then it's not, because the story is very complex. You can tell there's a lot of nuance that really wants to get me interested, but it hasn't given me any reason to read this book so far. None. It hasn't given me any characters I care about, situations I care about. Conflicts that need to be resolved. Nothing. All very disjointed. Slowly pulling things together, I see. Particular characters from earlier discussions kind of coming in, and like I said, I'm not giving up because I like the content and I feel like the world building is going to take me someplace that's fun. But holy, can't get out of its own way right now. It's like being stuck behind your favorite car, right? So like maybe you have a favorite car. I don't know what it is. Ferrari, Porsche, 1957 Chevy, Corvette. Who knows? You have a favorite car and you see your favorite car on the highway, right? Or on the street someplace while you're driving, and you're like, oh my God, that's my favorite car. I've always wanted one of those my whole life. And then you get behind it and the guy's doing like 20 miles an hour in a 75. That's what the book feels like. It's like, I know this is my favorite type of story, but holy hell, I hate driving behind this guy.
Ghost who said my favorite car is the Monument paint van in the commercials. We don't have that car anymore.
Nope.
Box gone.
Nerd Box Evolved is what we have now. The Nerd Box, unfortunately, could not pull a big enough trailer anymore. The company outgrew the Nerd Box. I have the Black Company from Cook. I haven't started it, but it's in my library. I feel like Malazan got better reviews than the Black Company, but I tend to, with fantasy books, gravitate towards the ones with negative reviews when the negative reviews are that it's too dark. It's too dark and doesn't have likable characters. They're all despicable. When I see reviews like that, I'm like, probably going to give that a try. because I do prefer my fantasy to be kind of in dispute as to who the good guys are. It's his first book, based around one of his friends GURPS D&D campaign. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. They throw a lot of characters at you all at once with a bunch of scene shifts, which I don't normally mind as long as they give those characters a life, but they don't. The closest they've gotten is this one sorceress who I assume is overweight or very large boned or something like that, because he spends a lot of time talking about what an odd mix she is with the sorcerer she's sleeping with, who's super skinny and old. And that's as close as I've gotten to feeling any kind of situational attachment to anybody. Like, who are they? What do they like in life? You know, what is their motivation? I want characters to come alive. And none of his characters come alive. He just sticks them in these situations and says, go. I'm like, okay, well then tell me something more about the situation. It's a city. We have to take the city. That ain't going to cut it, buddy. I probably think too hard about books is the problem. Baby J called me out on that the other day. He said, I think you pay more attention to books than I do. Because the minutia sometimes is what drives me bananas. Sometimes because it's not there, sometimes because there's too much of it. I think it's all about presentation for me. Quit thinking. That fancy thinking stuff's not wanted around here. That fancy thinking won't get you anywhere, boy. What you trying to do? Go to Harvard? You read so many Dragonlance books by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Got the non-Dragonlance series Doomgate. Got it for free when your last LGS closed. Hardcover. Is that good? Did I miss something? I think I read some Dragonlance books way back in the day. Again, fantasy is not my strong suit. I say that. I mean, there's a lot of fantasy books that I really, really enjoy, but it's not what I hunt down first and foremost. I tend to shy away from it because there's so many fantasy books, and so many of them follow such standard tropes and are like carbon copies of one another with different names for the characters, that I get a little beat up by that, right? Somebody comes up with a unique kind of magic system, and all of a sudden there's 12 books that rip that magic system off and try to tell stories with the same idea. Paint liquor, yeah, the Driz stuff is, again, it's very straightforward, which I think is good if you want like a good background book while you're painting and you don't want to have to think about it much. That works sometimes. But for fantasy, I never want that. For some reason, fantasy I hold to a higher standard, and I think it's because I love the world building and Tolkien and Moorcock and things like that. And so I get lost in the straightforward kind of stuff. But then there's other stuff like Kenny tried to get me into the stuff with the powder mages, or the 8 gunpowder. What was that? And I couldn't get into it. I was like, this is stupid. It didn't click for me. CK Moore, yeah, I've got it on Audible, so I'll definitely listen to it. Mistfall? Maybe that's Mistborn? Mist something, right?
Mistborn is the one I've read.
Oh, maybe it's not Mistborn. I think they're called powder mages, right? They ingest stuff and then can do magic. Like throw stuff. Mistborn? Okay. Allomancers? I feel like it is Mistborn. You read Mistborn?
I think so.
Maybe telling me you read something. It was because of a student? Or...
Yeah. Favorite book ever. My kind of book, but
What'd you think?
it wasn't bad.
It has like a female protagonist in the first book, and it's very Victorian feeling, kind of, I think, because they have like a ball and he's being trained as one of these.
Yep.
Yeah, it didn't click for me. I liked some of the characters too. I actually liked the main protagonist. I thought she was really cool. It just couldn't get out of its own way again. It's like, what the heck is going on? But that's Sanderson, I think, right? And actually, it's not that he doesn't tell you what's going on. It's that he tells you what's going on in 50 million more words than you need to know, right? That's the problem with Sanderson. He's got too much to say. Like, we get it. You already told us this. Move along. Oh, no, you want to tell us that again. Okay, cool. Oh.
That looks good.
Oh. I would say this model paints itself, but that would be lying. I don't want anybody to buy this model thinking that it's going to work miracles for you. This model takes a lot of effort, but holy hell, is it a lot of fun. I owe Mally a message today. Mally, one of the Journeyman Miniatures guys, I'm going to send him some photos of me doing the non-metallic metal, because like I told you yesterday, we both sat around saying, nah, we're not going to do non-metallic metal on this thing. It's a beast. But boy, is the payoff worth it. Holy mackerel, I'm enjoying this. How you liking her?
Well, I like this. I'm afraid to put the lighter color over the top of it because I don't like the way it looks right here.
Did you cover up too much?
Yeah, I think so.
You didn't go bright enough with your underpainting.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be, if you look at the Wonder Woman one, the thing that really makes it stand out is it's much more like She-Hulk.
Yeah. And that's where it looked, and then I started to do a little bit more of the flesh on the face.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah.
See, a lot of your depth, though, so normally when we paint skin, I think on the Wonder Woman, I go straight to shadow flesh, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do because it's a brighter flesh tone.
Right.
And when you underpaint, when we paint flesh, normally we want to start with a darker color because we think about our shadows, but you already put your shadows in with all the dark green and everything. That's
Right.
what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about it, the first time you're putting skin color on when you're underpainting should be a lighter color of skin because it inherits all that darkness and brightness from all the colors underneath it, as well as keeping that really cool yellow, green, blue kind of skin tone.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
Looks great.
I really like the way it's looking.
You've set it up perfectly for a darker skin.
Okay.
This looks really good down here.
Really?
Yeah, it looks really good. You don't inherit much of your underpainting.
Right.
So you would want to go back in and like glaze some greens and all the colors that maybe
Okay.
you were expecting.
Okay.
But you can still get it because look at her blending. Yeah, it's spectacular blending. It looks really
Well,
good.
that's what I was saying when you were gone, is that I went to different colors than in the methodology, and I was saying it's because I think I overdo it a little bit. Like, because
Yeah.
you said dark purple, camo green. I went dark purple, black green, dark yellow green.
So, and here's another thing to remember when you're underpainting. Those blended colors don't make a difference because the color you put over it and filter it for the skin washes them all together.
And
you
that's
lose
what I
everything
figured.
and you almost lose the
I
impact
said
of it.
that. I was saying that. I'm
Yeah.
like, I think it's too much. I think
Too much.
it's overkill.
That's why
I
you
don't
make
need
those
it.
jumps.
Yeah.
When you're underpainting, it needs to look like, what the hell am I doing?
Right. Which
it's
it
like
did.
a dark color, a
It
bright
did when
color,
I
a
started,
really
for
bright
sure.
color. And you look at it, you're like, that's horrible.
Yeah.
But then you put the flesh over it, and it smooths all that out.
But I think that where I hesitate is,
Used to doing such amazing blends.
I'm used
know?
to doing the gradual and
This is
blending
a
it
good
all
thing
up.
to think about, guys, because she's struggling right now with one of the things that we talk about a lot, which is that you get used to the way you paint. For people that paint with like a heavy bunch of texture and really big jumps in color, and then you have to paint something with smooth blends, it's like, oh my God, what do I do? Because you can't blend the same colors you would normally use. You have to find the colors in between them to get your blends. You blend all the time with these really hairline colors, gradually increasing in value and color and hue as you go. And then what you're needing here is to just smack big, bright, chunky grandma quilt colors on it. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to come to grips with what you need to do, right?
Yeah, so I'm kind of at the point where I think that I might take the concept of the colors but still blend it the way.
Yeah.
Because that I think I will feel better about it.
You can create the same effect by blending from greens and reds into flesh tones, and we've done that before. I think the one that I did it on was like a lot of wet blended things called like irritated flesh, where I used reds and purples and then blended that into the skin. You can do the same thing with the greens and the yellow greens and all that. Just blend them in at the step you need them. When you do the forehead, take the flesh with the bright yellow green and blend it together and get that color.
Yeah.
I think that'll suit your painting style more.
Because I was also saying that I love the way, even though this is just gray, the way that you can really see where the highlights are on your face.
Yep, that's the goal.
Is what I'm trying to recreate.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, get that contrast baked in. Yep, lovely. I like it.
So, not bad for the first day. I'm dying. My back is absolutely killing me, though.
Yep, we gotta
I'm
quit.
not used to this anymore.
It's 3 o'clock. But heck, we can see the progress that I've made too.
Yeah.
I actually have some contrast on him now. Starting to come together. I'm really liking this.
That is a really cool model.
Yeah, he's gonna look really good. It's a model that only comes to life as you get closer to completion because of all the details baked. It's like it's like it doesn't speak to me, but every time I peek another little bitty detail on it, it's like, this is great.
Yeah.
So, everybody, thanks for hanging out with
And,
us.
links.
Watching some paint dry. Jen's going to toss the links up in chat. Make sure you follow all of them. The store, check out all the Pro Acryl stuff that we'll find over there. All the paints and brushes that we've been using here live on the stream. The Discord where you can hang out with us 24/7. Having fun, showing off what you do, learning, telling fart jokes. And then the FLGS link will show you all of the stores that might be close to you in your neck of the woods where you can go buy our stuff. Support your local gaming store. Please, please, please. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Good to see everybody. For all of you that are new here, remember we stream 5 days a week. The Monday, Wednesday, Friday show like today starts at noon and goes till 2. The Tuesday, Thursday show starts at 2 and goes till 5. So a little bit later and a little bit longer on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Is that maybe going to change?
We've talked about it, but we don't know.
We don't know yet.
Figure it out. I think it is. But gives you 5 chances a week to catch up with us. Stick around now. We're going to find somebody to raid, show some love in the chat we wind up in. Have a wonderful weekend. Get some hobbying done, and we'll see you on Monday. Adios, gang. We're out.